Hey everybody, it's Dan. Today's video is going to be on understanding how touch, reach, and throw are the key terms to understanding how the entire golf motion actually comes from the same intention and then shapes itself into all the unique nuanced shots that we use in golf. All right, let's get started. Before we explore touch, reach, and throw and the way that that would express itself in the different types of shots on the golf swing, I want to first get the most important concept of this video set up. Most importantly is that if I am touching, reaching, or throwing, I am using my body in a way that I've been doing for my entire life. My segments have a weightless feel to them. I move my body instinctively without thinking about how all the parts move together, and it always kind of matches the intention of the action. So that's the overarching understanding. The other one is that when we apply this to golf, is that it's easy to touch, reach, and throw in general and make those patterns of movement in your body because you've lived in your body. You're not holding anything. It's difficult in golf because the golf club has, again, I've said in many other videos, it's rigid. So it instills kind of a leverage impulse into the body that it's easy, or the mind senses that it's easy to use it as a lever. It has a center of mass and it has a lot of density at the end. So it's very easy to kind of get fooled into the idea that I need to do something to this. But it's important to understand, like when I do my more natural actions of touch, reach, and throw in my body, I don't have the sense of doing anything to a part. I just simply intend to get my hand, in most cases, to go in the direction that I want it to go. That's what we're going to want to transfer into our golf swing. So when you pick up a golf club, it immediately feels, you can feel the weight of it. As you gain skill and as you get a golf swing into movement, you learn how to decrease the impression of weight, and you do that naturally by the way that you move your body around your line of gravity. It's very instinctual. So that's going to be that's something I want you to really have a sense, or try to keep your attention on, so you start to sense how easy that is. A simple way to do that is simply, if you just turn the club upside down, you can still feel like you may have an impulse to want to control it, but all of a sudden, not feeling all that density there, it makes it easier to move it with your body and balance it around your line of gravity like you would naturally do with any other movement. Once I feel the weight though, again, that changes again. Okay, so once a golf club is in motion, if my whole body is moving relative to the intended movement, I will get a sense of lightness, and that's something that should develop as we explore these ideas. Okay, let's start with touch. Okay, so when you touch something, it is generally a very simple and direct, and overall, if we think of the word and some of the meanings behind touch, touch is soft in general. Okay, you know, if you're pushing something, you're using a force, but if you're touching something that has a light touch, and golf is a game where a lot of our shots have a lighter touch. So whenever I want to touch something, my body naturally just reaches in the direction or moves in the direction. But one thing that often goes that doesn't go noticed by us because we're so good at doing it is we don't notice when we intend to touch something that a lot of our body moves. Our body always responds in a very natural spiral type movement to accommodate the task. So we don't really move in straight lines. We move in these really soft, simple curves that our body has refined over time. And that's basically because that's the easiest way to move when you're in a gravitational field and you're on top, or constantly basically rebounding off the surface of this big spinning globe that we all live on. So when you touch something, it comes with a little bit of movement. Where golfers get problem in touching is when they start with like their most simple shots, like a chip would be a very analogous to touching, is that they're trying to maneuver the club, and all the sense of touch goes away. I want to treat the golf club as if, oh yeah, it's like I'm touching in that direction and then touching back to the golf ball. So if I can treat a chip shot with touch, my body actually naturally moves in this little soft little arc, or we see an arc of the club, but it moves in this slight little soft little rotary type pattern that allows touching to be easy. So if you can get rid of the idea that there's some trick to swinging the golf club, and you start to understand that, hey, you know, a chip shot is just, oh yeah, I just set up and I move the golf club in a way where it's easy to touch it, the body then starts to naturally react with that. Moving on to a bigger motion, well, reaching would be much more like our pitch shots, and maybe some of our distance wedges are kind of partial motions where we hit a large percentage of our golf shots. Reaching now involves a little bit more movement, okay? So when you reach for something, it'll be much more obvious that your body has an increased rotary capacity to it. The rotation doesn't cause the reach, and nor does the reach cause the rotation. They're integrated as one. So if I need to take the club back farther, I don't want to swing it back farther or lift it back farther. I want to reach it in the direction that would make it easy to accommodate the task. So if we're hitting a pitch shot, we reach it and we fold it a little bit very instinctively because that's very effortless, but we do so in relation to the entire movement of the body. It's not done with one muscle group. It's done with almost everything in your body has a nice soft movement to it. So it's be like if I reach for something or reach behind myself, I don't reach with just my arm. I have to let my body flow. The better I get at it, the more naturally I let my body flows with the movement, and I don't have to think about it. It just happens. So if you're good at touching and hitting a little chip shot, well, can you get good at reaching, hitting a pitch shot? Okay, so my job is not to hinge and do something and try to hit it with the shaft or hit it with the leverage of the shaft. Can I reach it back and then reach back in the direction of the golf ball? Didn't quite do that one perfect. We'll do it again though. So easiest reach back, there we go, easiest reach through. And if you keep developing your golf swing with that kind of mindset, you'll see that your body starts to find an easier and more natural way of movement. Now as we move up from reaching, now we're going to get into what we call throwing. Okay, so now when I need the most velocity out of any extremity of my body, I make a much bigger, we'll call it a reach back, so I can really create an efficient throwing exercise. I want to get the extremity that I'm trying to create velocity on, which in the case of golf is going to be the golf club head itself. But if I was throwing a ball, I'm using my body constantly to get in a spot where it's easy to accommodate the task of throwing. So throwing is much more like I'm slinging something as opposed to swinging something. And so the key concept in understanding that correlation in the full golf motion is that, again, I am not trying to swing the golf club and add energy and try to force it to the target. I'm actually throwing the club head in the direction of the target line, and that actually gives me a swinging action that actually comes for free. So when you can perceive it that way, that changes. So now, in a throwing action, it's just about, hey, how far where do I put this golf club? Where do I get in a spot where the intention is to throw it at the target line? Well, when one throws, one does not put action on the club. The club would actually naturally then fold into the body and then expand later. You get that swinging action as a natural consequence of actually throwing. So as I make a bigger movement, I want to learn how to throw the golf club in the direction of the target line, and that's what starts to change the behavior of the body naturally. So that's our next phase. Now this is the hardest part for most golfers, because as soon as there's a need for distance, I have to get it to go a certain distance, or I have that really attached that I need to, the mind kind of takes over the body and the muscles start to activate, and there becomes more unnecessary directional force at the target, as opposed to, no, I want to get the easiest possible throwing motion I can create. So ball striking then becomes the intention no longer of trying to swing the club and hit it to the target. It actually becomes the intention of finding the best spot to throw it at the golf ball. And throwing, again, is not using the shaft. It actually is absence of using the shaft. It's making this thing balance with your natural body's line of gravity so it matches the task. So if you can imagine your golf swing now as a throw at the target line, then you have a much better understanding of what it's like to actually strike a golf ball more in line with the way an elite ball striker works on. That's something I really wish, if I could go back to when I was 9 years old learning the game, or somewhere in that kind of developmental process, that was really hammered home into me, that this idea of touch, reach, and throw at the target line was really the true goal of the golf swing, and that from doing that you would really learn how all the shots actually, or how all the outcomes of the shots are affected by that. So if you can take that idea and kind of run with that on your own and explore and experiment with that, you may find very, very well that golf actually isn't as difficult as we make it when we start to get into the instincts of what our body knows how to do and apply that and make the golf club a part of our body. Then we have a chance to really find the elite true golf swing that exists within all of us.